Okay, so we're live and happy British Science Week. Happy Thursday. And thank you very much for joining us. So this is the kind of special day that we're going to be celebrating the arts in STEAM. So each day this week we've been celebrating science, technology, engineering. It's arts today, and then we've got maths and medicine coming up in the next couple of days. I'm Dr. Natalie Whitehead. I'm one of the founders and directors of the Exeter Science Centre, and we're trying to create an amazing science discovery centre here in Exeter. And I'm delighted to be joined today by one of our amazing inspirational trustees, Olya Petrakova, who is Director of Maketank. And thanks so much for joining us, Olya. Maybe you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Maketank.
Sure. So my name is Olya, and I am Artistic Director of Maketank. I'm also a lecturer at Drama Department at the University of Exeter on a Make Creativity, Innovation and Business Strategy program. And Maketank is actually a creative, well, it was a creative hub for contemporary performance. We are entering phase 2 of our development because originally we prototyped that construct, and now we are realizing that our offer needs to be wider. So we are framing ourselves to be a cultural lab, which then encompasses the contemporary performance, but also opens up to other aspects of culture that are really dear to us, such as design, and film and media and gastronomy. So so we are placing our purpose really is to place art and culture at the heart of placemaking and urban regeneration through creativity and play. And that's really important, the play part. Yeah, so that's it.
That's wonderful to hear. And we're really excited about kind of, making learning playful, but also kind of thinking about culture and maybe even reimagining culture, especially thinking of how science can fit into that. And the kind of my next question for you really is about the connection between science and the arts. And what do you think? Why do you think that combining STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, maths, and medicine, why do you think combining STEM and the arts is important?
I think this word play is probably the connector. Because play is this kind of act of creativity that forms various connections in our brain. They are when we are immersed into the same world, into the same environment for a while, we establish a set of connectors in the brain, and it's very hard to innovate and to come up with something new unless we are challenging those constructs. And that's where art, and specifically, I would say theater, because the ethos of theater is games and play, can really provide an opportunity to experiment, to challenge, to play, to establish new worlds, new conditions, and try out new experiments in surprising and new ways, really. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And certainly, from my perspective, I see that it's got a lot of ways to connect people with kind of difficult issues by kind of changing the way you perceive it and think about it in a playful and different way. And certainly, as part of the Science Centre, we want to place a lot of emphasis on global issues, which often people perceive in a kind of very negative, these are challenges that we need to tackle kind of way. I mean, how do you think that artists and creatives and scientists can work together to explore these issues?
I've been immersed lately into exploring the idea of social labs, which is introduced by Zaid Hassan. And the idea of a social lab is a great construct because it creates a space for very diverse stakeholders to come together and look at that issue. And but also, if you incorporate a scientist, an artist, a local authority, key community stakeholders, and perhaps a very interesting, random, completely nobody I'm thinking even about right now, but to bring somebody from an outside world and to spend some time brainstorming and ideating and trialing these ideas, going through design thinking process of brainstorming, ideating, prototyping very iteratively, very responsively. The system would be really agile. So it's not something you plan and you have to, by that point, you're going to reach the conclusion. It's a very iterative process. And I think we can find, recently I read an article a bit about it that says it's about, social labs are about small local groups solving big global problems. And I just think that's the future, really. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I really love that idea. And I love the fact that it's called a social lab, because it's got the kind of, the feelings of a laboratory with experiments and trying new things, and maybe, coming up with hypotheses and challenging them, and working with the community. I think that's really exciting. And yeah, I really hope that all through these various kind of activities, with Maketank and maybe eventually with the Science Centre, when we have a physical space to create a social lab, I really hope we can develop more things like this. I'm really excited to see what Maketank and how that goes. So thinking more broadly about the kind of arts community in the region. So I know that with Maketank, you're kind of more performance art, but also looking at the other aspects of arts, and we have quite a lot of pockets of various specialisms in arts in the Southwest. I wonder if you can kind of tell me a little bit about that and how you're connected with them.
Oh yes, I mean, we have very diverse creative sector in the region. We have amazing contemporary artists. We have wonderful socially engaged practitioners. We have visual artists, sound and music artists, and theater makers. It's very diverse, very rich, not as connected as it can be, but we're working on it. So that's changing. And there's a number of new networks emerging right now, which is great. So there's Performance in Exeter network, which actually that P performance, we've just thinking a lot about how it needs to be about practice and participation and play and everything else that P can stand for. So that's for Exeter, but there's also going to be a new network emerging, at least a meetup of producers of Devon and Cornwall. I just attended a wonderful gathering of Plymouth theater makers. It was Plymouth meetup. There's also a network in Torbay called What's Next. So we are connecting, I think, especially in these difficult times. So visibility of artists and connectivity is going to come to the surface, and I think that will create a really rich environment for new exciting work and collaboration with scientists. And I would just say, you know what, in the process, let's prototype a social lab tomorrow. Let's not wait until the building, just move into Maketank and let's make it happen.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that idea. Absolutely. We're super keen to start having an impact now, and really we're still learning about all the different, people who are working in the region. And yeah, it'd be wonderful to make those kind of connections. I'm just thinking as well. So you mentioned that we're kind of making connections across the Southwest, especially the arts and especially through these difficult times at the moment. And what I'm wondering about is how the public can get involved. So of course, I'm sure there are the things like, they might attend theatres, or they might attend exhibitions and things that are going on publicly, but other ways to kind of get involved behind the scenes. And how would you see the public engagement side of things?
I think the reason why we are taking a cultural lab route for Maketank, it is about creating and incubating projects that specifically doing that are engaging local communities and giving artists and arts organizations space, fundamentally. The weather is really exciting right now. Space, resources, research, research stimuli, mentorship, to help them do that. And of course, we have a fantastic Exeter Connect charity here. We have Wellbeing Exeter initiative with, I think, over 14 community builders for different districts in Exeter. So we actually have quite a bit of infrastructure, and now it's illuminating that to ourselves as artists and saying, well, we have all this, and now let's start engaging with it and start engaging public sector into making culture. So we're not doing it for them, they're doing it with us. So Maketank is actually a part of co-creating change network. And that's very much a part of that methodology and we'll be happy to share that and to encourage more people to join.
That sounds great. Yeah, I think it's really, I suppose recently there's been a really positive change in the way that we're thinking, certainly in science, and I guess maybe in the arts as well, of, how we engage with the public. It's not just kind of we produce things and we give them to the public, we're disseminating. It should be a two-way process. And, especially at the start of an exciting new project, what do the public want to see and how can they get involved? So that's really great to hear.
Making co-creators and like real stakeholders, I think, is key. And that will, in turn, what's happening then, we're activating civic agency in the population, because apparently there's been a research done by Arts Council that civic agency in UK has seriously declined since 2012. For various reasons, but I think our job as artists and scientists, as social scientists, is to reactivate and maintain it.
Absolutely. And I think, from our perspective, we're really excited about the potential for the public to really genuinely contribute towards global challenges. I mean, I guess really the public makes up absolutely everyone on the planet. So of course they must play a part, but kind of from a community perspective and an individual perspective, I think they have a lot to contribute. So kind of this community approach and these social labs and participation, I think, doing that in a really meaningful way is really exciting. So I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other about that.
Yeah. So the next Pi Assembly performance in Exeter Assembly, that's happening next Wednesday on the 17th of March. It's on Maketank on our Twitter, at the top of the page, the link to it. But that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. We have Hannah Patterson, who is a senior commissioner with the Heritage Community Fund, and she will be talking about participatory grant making, budgeting, planning practices, ways that communities are engaged. So it's a methodology, really, and that I think Exeter is an excellent petri dish, because it's small enough, it's active enough, it's approachable enough, accessible enough to really be a forward thinking, pioneering city.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how we see it. And, we all want to play a big part in really making that happen. What we'll do is we'll post the link to that in the comments so that everyone can access it. And by the way, if anyone is wanting to join in with the discussion here, please post in the comments and we can get back to you. So I think go off on a little bit of a tangent here, because actually, Ollie, you've had such an interesting background, and you were originally a mathematician, and I wonder if you can tell me a little bit about this and how it's affected your work, or how important it is in your work, or whether you've moved in a different direction.
I think math is always with me. I'm so happy that I got hooked into that world, and it starts, that's how our brain works. It just, numbers is starting to really affect how you think and what you think about, and it can be addictive. So for me, math is always with me, and I find that what I realized, though, is that we can have many thinking hats on, and math provides me very good analytical hat and systems hat. I can think in terms of systems, and that actually, if you're talking about cultural innovation, social innovation, then math provides that framework to identify the issue. And also it cultivates a particular way of thinking, which is divergent thinking, which is actually really part of creative thinking, of thinking in terms of possibilities and options. So you're not burdening yourself with finding one solution. You actually liberate yourself with thinking, well, this is possible. Great. Option A. This is possible. Option B. Option C. So you expand your possibilities before you make a final decision. And that I found actually to be probably the most important part of my education.
Amazing. And I suppose people would think that if you have a maths training, then you'd probably be very logical, but then, you know, they probably wouldn't anticipate that you could be completely creative. And I think actually really it's a thread that runs through all of the sciences, maths, and it has this strong connection with arts as well. So it's a real kind of fundamental part of STEAM, I think.
Some of the world's leading directors, most amazing directors, often have backgrounds in science, architecture, chemistry, physics. I can make a whole list of those. So I think theater, for instance, has always been a playground for mathematicians.
Yeah. Oh, that's really exciting. Yeah, and really, I hope that we can kind of really highlight those connections in the science centre that we create, and you know, in the meantime, the organisation we're creating. Well, so it's been absolutely inspiring to talk to you, Olya, as always, and we're so pleased to have you on board, along with all of our other trustees, and yeah, I'm really excited to see what we can create and the connections that we can make between STEM and the arts to really kind of solidify STEAM in Exeter and in the region. So thank you all very much for watching and taking part. Thank you so much, Olya, and we'll be back tomorrow with a discussion about maths with one of our experts from the University of Exeter. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you. Bye.